Hello and welcome to Diary of an Unschooler, the space where we explore the world of deschooling, unschooling, and natural learning. I'm your host, Leah McDermott, and I'm here to guide you through the fascinating journey of alternative education and meaningful learning experiences with your children. Thank you to all of our listeners for joining us once again, or if you're new here, a warm welcome to you. Let's dive into today's topic. Hey friends, it's Leah here, and I am going to talk to you, believe it or not, about a myth with homeschooling and unschooling that I still address almost every single day. And that is socialization. How can a child who is homeschooled or unschooled become a socialized human if they are not in a public school? Now, believe it or not, I do still have this question come to me almost every day, but I will say that the way the question is being phrased is evolving. So hopefully over time we are completely removing this myth that homeschoolers and unschoolers are unsocialized children and weirdos that cannot be a part of society, because of course we know that that isn't true. So I want to maybe take this in a little bit of a different direction than you might hear normally with these conversations, because for years, educational people and experts in the homeschooling field have been telling you, obviously, socialization in school is not representative of real life. Our kids can still socialize. We can socialize with people outside of our peer groups. You've heard this conversation over and over again. That's not what this episode is going to be. It's going to be the next level of that conversation, because I get that question now. Parents will say, I know that socialization in public school is not what I want. And I know that they can be friends with everybody, but I'm still worried about how they are going to make friends if I don't push them, if I don't provide them with opportunities to be with other children. How will those skills develop if I am not forcing it? Is basically the next question that I get. So parents are understanding, and maybe you're in this boat too, right? Where you totally understand that the socialization happening in public school is not real life. That's not what we want. Most cases, it's very toxic. There's a lot of bullying involved. Obviously, we don't want to be a part of that. But what do we do now? What do we do with that information? What's the practical next step of helping our children develop these social skills and make friends if we are not forcing them into these situations? So I have a few thoughts on this. And most importantly, number one is follow your child, okay? Just like with learning, socialization is not something that we have to force upon someone, okay? And along with that, we know with learning, right, when we've dived into this deschooling and unschooling world, and we start to learn about how the brain develops and how learning happens and what happens, we know that when learning is forced upon someone, that often creates a resistance to it. Right? So if we force a child to learn to read before they are interested and developmentally ready, yeah, they might develop that skill, but they're also going to develop a resistance to it, which is why we have so many humans now that don't read and say they hate reading and they hate writing and they won't pick up a book because it was forced upon them. And they developed a resistance because of force, because they lost their autonomy. Socialization is the same thing. When we force socialization upon a child, yeah, they might develop that skill, but we also might be accidentally developing a resistance when they might not otherwise resist socialization. And I don't think you have to look very far to see the evidence of this. How many millennials do you know? I'm one of them, that all but dive to the floor to hide when someone knocks on their door. I'm on a podcast right now. I love speaking to people. I love going out and hanging out with my friends. I have no fear of public speaking. And yet I do not want to be forced into a social situation. And I am an introvert by nature. And so what happens when we force this same type of socialization on children or people in general, we create this accidental resistance of it. And so that's the one thing we need to remember, is that we want to follow our child here. because it's also okay to not want to socialize with others. It's okay to be an introvert and it's okay to be an extrovert. And when we allow our children to be naturally who they are, which happens in this world of unschooling, that will show, that will come out, and we can act accordingly. I have one child who is naturally very extroverted. My oldest is 13 years old, and everybody in my town knows who he is because he is out there talking to people, riding his bike around town. He's friends with everybody. He'll join into any basketball game, any event, any situation. He desires that experience, so he seeks it out. My middle child is 10 years old and is very much like me. He will be a part of his soccer team. He'll go out and spend some time with friends a little bit, but most of the time, his social battery is pretty low, and he would much rather come inside and either be by himself, or he thrives with online friendships because it's that nice balance of having that engagement, that social engagement, but also getting to just be within his safe space, be within his home, doing the things he loves, being comfortable. And because I never forced either of my children into situations to socialize where they had to engage a certain way, they were able to naturally develop those skills to suit their personalities. And so if you're struggling with this idea of how is my child going to make friends, they will. When you trust them, when you follow their lead, and when you lean into who they naturally are and allow that to develop. And along these lines, this socialization does not need to be forced at a young age. Your 3-year-old does not have to be a part of a library group or a preschool group or a co-op. They can be home, and that's okay. And they can socialize with you, and that's okay. And that's enough, because those skills can still be developed. So follow the child. Because the child that is more extroverted, that is seeking out those socialization situations, they will tell you, they will show you, they will ask you, and then you can figure that out together. Yes, you want to make some more friends, you want to meet some more people. What do you want to be a part of? Let's find that, which brings me to my second point, which is that it is okay to socialize with non-homeschoolers. This is another thing I see so often, is that as soon as parents step into this world of homeschooling, this means that now their bubble has become microscopic, that they have to only socialize with other homeschoolers, that socialization must happen during school hours, therefore they must find other homeschoolers, or that they have to be suddenly involved in homeschool groups and homeschool co-ops. And that is a myth. If that is something that your family desires and thrives off of, that's fantastic. Go for it. But you do not have to adhere to that. You can do your own thing as a family during the school hours. And then after school hours, your children can socialize exactly the same way all other children do. Go outside and play, join a sports team, join a club, take some lessons, meet kids that aren't just your age. By the way, is a big one, right? With public school, we see that forced socialization in age groups. My children's friends, I actually off the top of my head can't think of any of my kids' friends that are exactly the same age as them. Most of my children's friends are in other grade levels. If they even went to public school, they would not be in the same building or the same classroom or the same grade as their friends, because true friendships and socializations exist beyond age levels and neighborhood lines, right? So again, follow your child, and it is absolutely okay to socialize outside of a homeschool bubble. There are lots of ways to encourage that socialization with your child outside of a public school environment. And the most important thing is that you follow their lead, because when they're ready, they'll show you, and then you can collaborate on finding ways to do that. One final note, online friends are okay. Online friends are real, right? I'm your friend. You and I are engaging like this. I engage with people all the time on social media. My 2 best friends in the world live very far away from me. We chat all day long on the internet, through messages, through social media. Online friends are real friends. And so if your child's best friends are through gaming, through the internet, through the phone, through chatting in any way, don't feel like they are not socializing because that friend is not in front of them. Okay. It is a new world. Those online friendships absolutely matter and they absolutely count towards true and real socialization. Okay. That's it from me today, guys. I'll see you in our next episode. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Diary of an Unschooler. I hope today's discussion provided valuable insights for you into the world of unschooling. Remember to subscribe and leave us a review if you found this episode helpful. I record multiple episodes on a variety of topics every week, so make sure to come back soon to dive into more about unschooling and natural learning. A big thank you to our team for making this episode possible. I'm Leah McDermott, reminding you to embrace the journey of learning naturally with your children. Until next time, take care, and remember, all life is learning.